My name is Rachel Dworkin with the Chemung County Historical Society. Today is June 30th, 2020, and I am here interviewing
Karen Cromer. I'm the Executive Director at the Clemens Center.
Okay, so when did your theater shut down with all of the COVID?
We got the notice from the governor's office that we were no longer allowed to have more than 500 people in our theater on March 12th. That was a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And we had full performances scheduled for the next night, Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
and early in the following week of over 1,000 people for each show. So we knew that immediately we had to cancel those performances. So we have been closed since then.
Okay, so have you had to refund those tickets?
Some of the events were outside promoters, so they actually rent the facility.
Mm-hmm.
And they handle rescheduling. So they've some of them have moved their events to later this fall, hopeful that we can get back in business again. But some of the shows that we present, we are going to be able to reschedule. One in particular, the tour has gone off the road. They sent all their people back to wherever they came from. And are not in a financial position to remount the tour. So we did have to refund those tickets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I understand that you schedule out your performances several months in advance. Is that true?
Absolutely. Right now we are booking for 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I imagine the uncertainty of will we be able to open has made that difficult.
It's very difficult, but we are operating under the assumption that we need to do something. We need to be proactive rather than sit on our hands, because it does take quite a long time to ramp up and get back to business. We can't just open the doors and have a show. It takes quite a lot for the shows to get themselves in order. For the national Broadway tours, they will have to bring everybody back, rehearse the show. They might have to rehire actors or stagehands. It's hard to tell what they would need to do to get themselves back to where they'd be ready to perform. So that might take several weeks. So we can plan ahead as much as possible, but we're really very much in limbo, waiting to hear what the advice is going to be when we are finally able to open. We are considered a high-risk place of mass assembly. So very difficult for us to confidently open our doors and assure 1,600 people that they are properly socially distanced. It's just not possible in this building.
And you're not, and so you can't do, right now, theaters are no-go, period.
Correct.
Have you had any guidance from the state as to when that might be at least half capacity, or?
Well, even at that, it would be very challenging to have 800 people coming through our lobbies all at once. Because as you know, for a curtain, everybody arrives around the same time. Mm-hmm. And it'd be very tricky to try to accommodate that many people safely in this space. So we don't have any guidance on when we might be able to fully open, and most of these large productions require financially a full house or near capacity to be able to function. We possibly could open to smaller productions. Possibly our resident companies here at the Clemens Center could do some smaller scale, maybe 100, 200 people. We could safely bring them into the lobbies, seat them scattered throughout the auditorium, and they would be backstage using the same protocols as far as masks and hand sanitizing and all that up until performance. Then they would remove their masks and perform. And we know that that's been done successfully in South Korea. We've had an example of Phantom of the Opera continuing to play with such restrictions. But again, financially, is it worth the risk of opening our doors, going through all of these protocols, expending the additional dollars for all the additional cleaning, the additional time and labor it would take to turn the building over between performances for such a small crowd? We're not sure that that's the best way to go right now. So we're making those determinations kind of on a daily basis.
How many people does the theater regularly employ?
We have 18 people, both full and part-time.
And how many of those people are still currently employed?
Well, we were lucky enough to receive funding from the Small Business Administration, the PPP Paycheck Protection Program.
Mm-hmm.
So although the stagehands, box office, and some of our administrative personnel are off, they're at home, they're being paid in full until the funding runs out. That was a plan that allows us to maintain the workforce. But there's no work to be done for stage or for our bartender or the house manager right now. So when this money runs out, which it's doing at the end of this month, then we have to make the decision whether to continue to furlough them. And I think that's going to be a big decision in the next couple of days, is that we don't have anything going on. We don't know when we'll hear and what capacity we will be at when we can come back. So those are some tough decisions to make for employees.
Yeah. You oh, hold on. have to think this one through. So you have no guidance, no timeline, and you're running out of funds. What are you doing to fundraise within the community?
We were scheduled to have an in-person gala in April.
Oh, okay.
So of course we couldn't do that. So we switched gears, like we so often do in show business. You know, the show must go on. So we did a virtual gala, and it was kind of a lot of fun. And we were one of the first ones in the area to do that. And we had people just show up on our website, click through to a Zoom meeting, much like this. And it was a red carpet, and people showed up, said hello. We shared cocktail recipes. We had some videos on our website that you could go to get a backstage tour, just as if you were here for the event. And we even had a gentleman drop in with his guitar, and we did a sing-along to Sweet Caroline, which was a lot of fun. And then we also had on our webpage, you could go to an auction site, and we had some basket items and things that people could bid on to help support the Clemens Center. So it wasn't as successful as it would have been in person, but it was a way to fundraise. Okay. And we do have monthly memberships. People have continued to support us. We have foundations that regularly support us annually. And other people have stepped up in the community. The Corning Chamber of Commerce is going to hold a golf tournament. It's their annual fundraiser, but they're going to split the proceeds 50% with 4 local nonprofits, one of them being the Clemens Center. And the Arts Council helped coordinate an event for us with the Community Foundation, whereby if we had 100 membership renewals during the month of June, they would match us $25 for each renewal. So we were able to achieve that. So, you know, bit by bit, we're making it with our fundraising, with our foundation support, with the interest off of our endowment. So we're, you know, not at 100%, we're making do, but we do have some tough decisions to make here in the next few months.
How long do you think you can go on your current funding if you are not able to reopen for audiences?
Well, we can go quite a while because of the monies that I mentioned that we have in a fund called our Sustainers Fund. It's something that the board can vote to access. So we could go for a while, but it doesn't make sense to fully pay employees who have no work to do here in the building.
Mhm.
There are certain, a very small core of us that are essential. Finance department, facilities department, to keep us going for the next few months. We think we will have a Broadway tour come in and do a technical rehearsal here in November.
Mhm.
So that would give us some rental income. But we don't think we will be able to have any Broadway subscription shows until February or later. So yeah, the thing with a theater is the productions cost the most. So our expenses are highest when we're open, and they drop considerably just down to mortgage, utilities, and payroll when nobody's in the building. So
Oh.
there's we can get along for a while. We don't want to lose the momentum that we have with our patrons. We don't want them to forget about the arts. We've had some people very eager to come back, and we're so excited to hear that. But we don't want to lose the goodwill and the momentum that we have when we're open, because one thing builds on the next. You come in and get excited about a show, and then you want to see something else. So we hate to lose that.
So we at CCHS have sort of had the same problem of making sure that we're in the public consciousness, so that when we reopen, people will be like, oh yes, the museum. What kind of things are you guys doing, either online or within the community, to sort of keep up that momentum?
Well, we've regularly been posting content that we get from producers we typically work with. A lot of the small companies that tour for school time productions have provided content, and we reach out to the schools and homeschools that typically attend events here, make sure that they're aware. There are camps and workshops and all kinds of things they can attend, as well as performances that have been recorded, people have access to. So we try to just make people aware of all the variety of things that are out there. And just message them as frequently as we can about, we're hanging in there, we're doing the best we can, we can't wait to have you back. We count on your donations if you're in a position to do so, and just try to keep in touch with them. We've probably done 24 messages out to our members and subscribers since the closure. So we're keeping in touch, and we have a budget year-end appeal that's going to be going out in the mail, that kind of thing.
Okay. So I'd like to, is there anything else that you can think about how COVID has impacted your work at the Clemens Center?
Well, we were very surprised. We'd heard about this and started kind of looking into what kinds of disinfecting and that kind of thing in early February or late January. It was already on our radar. Situation was coming our way. Mm-hmm. And kind of prepared ourselves for a potential closure of maybe a couple weeks. We really didn't know. We never fathomed that it would be maybe a year before we'd have another full production in the building. That's a really long time. So it takes you off your mark. You were fully prepared to go into the next performance and have folks here and keep going as you normally do. And it's just thrown everything out of whack. It's very unsettling to not know when you can go back, and there's no going back to the way it used to be. It's going to be abnormal going forward.
I imagine certain things that you normally would have are going to be a lot more difficult. So like, can you even have concessions if the audience is supposed to wear masks the entire time?
Well, that's very tricky. Yeah. Does it make sense to even try to open the concession stand? Again, that's a loggerhead where people would get caught in lines, not be able to properly be distanced. Yeah, and it causes an interaction with our employees. Is it safe for them? You know, so lots of considerations. We understand from the low risk amusements that have been able to open under phase 4 that they're not requiring a temperature taking of patrons. But you know, all of our employees, our production folks have to report in daily on where they are and make sure that they don't have any symptoms. But one person walking in the door could affect literally hundreds of other people. So it's a scary prospect for us. Liability we take very seriously, and we certainly want to do everything in our power to mitigate the risk.
Have you started writing a reopening plan, or is that so far in the future based on where you are in the phases that you haven't?
Oh, we had to assign an affirmation to be back in the offices. So that was part of phase 2. So we're getting acclimated to all of those new protocols for ourselves. And then we are part of several different theater groups in the Broadway League, and they are working with the national unions, the Actors Equity Union, stagehands, and wardrobe, and all of those groups to come up with proper protocols for backstage. So they make recommendations that we will adopt. And same thing for the front of house. There are many venue groups that we belong to, and we're getting best practices from all of those. So we will adopt pretty much a conservative approach on all of those recommendations, and do as much as we can to, again, mitigate the risk of spreading coronavirus to anyone else. We don't want to take it home from anybody that visits here, and we don't want anybody that comes here to take it home with them.
Okay. So one of the things that we're doing as part of this COVID memory project is collecting different organizations' reopening plans. So once you have one, we'd love to have a copy of it.
Okay, we can do that. Yep.
So I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about how this has affected you personally. So you said that you recently had to come back into the office. Were you working from home before that?
Yes, we were told over a period of a few days to cut our workforce in half, and then by 75%, and then 100%. So all of a sudden, those of us that are used to coming in here and being here many, many hours a week had to switch gears. And now we're coming back in on a staggered basis. So we're trying to be here at, you know, not all at once and on varying days and that kind of thing. But yeah, it throws you off. I just live a few minutes from here, so it's not a big deal for me to be here at the office. But we were very careful not to have an appearance of vehicles parked outside or to show us coming and going through the doors, to very much limit to access to the building to those that absolutely had to be here.
So how was working from home for you?
It was a little bit of getting used to, finding a stride at home, getting up, you know, you have to at least dress for the top. You certainly wear your pajama pants and slippers under the table, but yeah, getting used to just a different routine. And my husband would pop in and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And stop, you gotta leave me alone, I got stuff to do. And there was an awful lot of bombardment of information coming across, and it's really exhausting to sit in front of a screen day after day like that. It takes some getting used to. Zoom meetings, getting used to that, just a different rhythm at home. So now I'm kind of splitting my time half and half, and still find it very challenging. I had to come into the office and grab some files and things I don't have full access to electronic files at home. So had to make sure to upload things from here to my Google Drive that I needed. And so it's taken a while, and it'll take a while to get everything transferred back. So it's a different routine. Sometimes if it was quiet during the afternoon, I could take a little nap, and that was helpful just to de-stress a little bit. But yeah, it's different. It's not something I would choose to do all the time. I find I'm much more productive in the office setting and able to stay on top of things a little bit better.
Was there anything about working from home that worked better for you than working from the office, or was it all just, please let me get back to the office?
Well, there were some days I was thankful, that I could just sit and work quietly. I have pretty much open door policy here. So as people come into the office and they check in and say hello, and sometimes I can hardly get my purse put down and get acclimated before I've got a parade of people that want to talk to me, or it's hard to get out of the office as an executive director. Sometimes everybody that you see along the way has something to talk to you about. So that in that sense, it's a quieter pace at home. But then keeping up with all of the new information, it was just a constant flow. You're reading things, you're on webinars, you're in Zoom meetings, you're trying to predict the future, which is just impossible.
Okay. So what kind of things were you and your husband doing to stay sane outside of work?
Well, we've got a nice little home in West Elmira, and we have 4 animals, 2 dogs and 2 cats, so they keep us kind of busy. Going out in the yard and playing ball with the dogs and just getting some fresh air, working in the garden, watching movies. There are a lot of cool things you can stream now for free. So, just to get your mind off of it. And we've been doing a lot more reading, taking the time. You get tired of the screen, so you take time to do a little something else. And my daughter lives in California, so I've been talking with her on the phone every day just about to see how she's doing, because she lives alone. So I want to make sure she's healthy and getting her grocery deliveries and that she's keeping sane herself. So that's a good connection to keep up with.
So speaking of grocery deliveries, how have you changed your regular household routines in terms of shopping? Or
well, we try to get as much delivered as we can. My husband does go out every once in a while and pick up a few things. But when you go out and come back in, you kind of feel like you need to detox, take a shower. You kind of feel itchy. So it's a strange sensation to go out on the streets when there's hardly any traffic. In the early days of this, it was very, very quiet. So, you just felt like, well, should I really be out here? Am I going to get stopped? Am I, is somebody going to ask where I'm going and why I'm out? So yeah, it was just kind of bizarre. So we've had as much delivered as we can. Our car is a hybrid, so it relies on batteries. So we just haven't been driving the car very much. And I went out one day to go to an appointment that I had, and the seatbelt had got caught in the door and it hadn't shut all the way, so it drained all the battery. So they had to come and jump our car in the garage. And just silly things like that. If you're going out and using the car every day, you would have seen that. But it's just strange. We like being at home. My daughter joked, I've been training all my life to sit on the couch and watch TV. This is perfect. I wouldn't recommend it for long stretches of time. You got to get out and do something.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about your COVID experience?
Nothing I've ever trained for. Now I'm going to have to create a handbook, I think, because this is something that you just can't imagine would ever have happened in your lifetime. But now we're all experts on it. And I've been telling people, you know, in the theater, we've been wearing our masks going back to Greek comedy and tragedy. And we'll continue to wear our masks and be safe here at the Clemens Center. We think that's a smart thing to do.
Okay. What do you have on tap for February 2020 or 2021 that you were saying that you're gearing up for? Anything good that I should be buying tickets for?
Our Broadway subscription will go on sale at the end of August. So we'll be making that announcement very soon. We're going to kick off the season with Waitress. So that one is going to be really fun. We were able to reschedule Riverdance and Fiddler on the Roof. So that was good. We'll have South Pacific. We'll have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And Cats will end our season in July. So it'll stretch through the summer next year. So it'll be very strange.
All righty. Well, thank you very much for speaking with me. If there's
who's your friend behind you?
Oh, this is Nimbus. I've got another one too, but he's somewhere else. Well, thank you again for speaking with me.
You're welcome.
You have a great day.
Thank you, Rachel. Bye-bye.
Bye.